Looks like we're live. Pretty sure. Welcome. We are live on the Sunday evening. All right. Yep. I'm pretty sure it's going here. All right. Yeah. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Kind of wrapping up this weekend on a Sunday night. Let's see here. What is it? It's April 19th. Oh. Tomorrow it's 420. All right. I'm just clicking on a few things while I wait for people to come in. And I am kind of keeping one eye on my dogs outside. Well, hey, TNT, good to see you tonight. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Sunday. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Thank you for the thumbs up. I'm just clicking on a few things here. But yeah, we're going to talk tonight about whatever you want to talk about. And I will cover a few things on spirituality. Well, hey, Grace. Greetings and salutations to you too. Grace says, greetings, Mama Cat. Meow. Yes. Well, hey, Justin. You know what's funny? Hi, Justin. I was just thinking about you, and I am not even kidding. I was going to mention you because I have not seen hide nor hair of you, and I was going to ask people, has anybody heard from Justin? Because we were hoping you weren't sick or anything. So good evening to Justin. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's doing good. Hey, Miss January, how are you doing tonight? Let's see, Grace. I hope you're doing well, Justin. Hope everything's good in your family. You've seen Justin's babies on Facebook? Oh, I have. I don't go on Facebook very often. Have you been posting over there? You're always here? Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Anyway, welcome. Glad you're doing good, and I hope you're doing good. I'm going to assume you are. Anyway, good to see you. I do want to ask you something that pertains to your last live. Yes, absolutely. Ask me whatever you want. As long as I don't have to give out anything too personal. People can always ask me what you want. Whether I answer, but yeah, about my last live. Yeah, and I will talk about a few things. Because on my channel, I always want people to learn something that you didn't know before. And I want people to be enlightened, and I want to do something that will make people's lives better. You know what I mean? I should have turned my notifications off here. I'm on my different phone. That's why. Slip past the goalie. But yeah, so that's what I want to do on my channel. I've always, 10 years, I've always wanted to put out things that will make people's lives better, maybe learn something valuable, something that you've never heard before. And that's, anyway, this channel doesn't have hate. I do not yell. I do not, none of that stuff. This is opposite, absolute opposite. You said you believe that a contract is made with your parents, but what if you were born to the wrong parents? Well, here's the thing. So I believe that there's contracts made before we come to Earth and live this life. And so you make a contract who your birth parents are, the ones that you're genetically mom and dad, and then you also, it may be different who raises you. So you also have a contract with the people who are going to raise you. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't never say it's the wrong parents. If you grew up in a house, because I would feel that way too. Hey, Christopher, good to see you. I kind of would feel that way sometimes too. Like I think maybe I grew up in the wrong house. Well, you know what? No, because if you had a really crappy childhood and your parents weren't really the best parents or something like that, believe me, I know it feels unfair and everything, but think of it like I said last week. think of it in the way that you put yourself into a family. This is what I believe. I believe that we put ourselves into the type of family that it takes for us to learn our lessons. And if you want to learn self-love, if you want to learn certain things, you have to be put into a crappy situation and maybe a crappy family. You know what I mean? So like I said, when I study this stuff, I always keep noticing that the rules for the universe are fair. The rules for the universe are make sense. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it doesn't seem fair to be raised in a crappy family or by bad mom and dads or no dad or no mom or in an orphanage or whatever. Doesn't seem fair at all. But if you think of it in the way that maybe I was put there so I would learn how to be independent and not because if you have like the perfect mom and dad and all that, you get a lot more assistance and stuff. You know what I mean? Like if your parents are maybe the best or most attentive, you learn how to do stuff on your own. You know what I mean? Do things on your own. Not count on anybody. You know what I mean? I got raised not to count on anybody. Okay. That made me a strong person. You know what I mean? I need to get on my channel real quick. Let me think here. Oh crap. So I can see the comments because I can't really see them on my phone very good. All right. Let me switch over here. And so, if somebody feels like also, you can feel like, dang, I've like always lived my life alone. I spend a lot of my life alone. Well, that's to get to know yourself because, when people come over or when people are in your life or whatever, more people in your life, the less time you really have to sit down and talk with yourself. I'm here all the time by myself, me and my dogs. I have friends I talk to and all this other stuff. But for the most part, I have a lot of time to think by myself. And there's a lot of things it can benefit. It can benefit you. Hold on, I'm trying to get back on my page here. It's so I can see you guys' comments because I'm kind of all right. Now, like when my first husband, he always complained that his dad died when he was 12. Like no matter what the problem was, it's because his dad died when he was 12. And he always said, well, my dad died when I was 12. And yeah, it seemed kind of like sucky and unfair and all that stuff. But if you had to grow up without a dad or whatever, yeah, it sucks. Bad age too to lose your dad. But if you think of it in the way that made you grow up to be a man, made you grow up fast, you know what I mean? And it makes you who you are. I mean, and believe me, when you have valuable lessons in life, the most valuable ones come from hard times. You know what I mean? Like I said last week, you don't really. I'm trying to get on my channel, you guys. I have to shut down a bunch of things because I have only 3 hamsters working today to power up my laptop. 2 of them have the day off. All right, let me get back on here so this works. Now, the good news is we have people on the other side, and and I never want to talk bad about churches or talk bad about people's religions or anything like that. I'm just saying we're not really taught and given the tools that we have right in front of us. You know what I mean? We have tools that most people don't know about that connect us to the other side. Because if we had these tools, I'm telling you, the churches would probably go out of business because most people are afraid, especially like in Christianity, people are afraid they're going to burn in hell and they're afraid of this and it's fear-based. I mean, scared to step outside the box, scared to ask questions, scared to talk to somebody who's passed away. Yeah, we can all talk to people who have passed away. You can talk to people on the other side. You can talk to your angels. You have angels. You have spirit guides. You have loved ones that have crossed over. We have all kinds of help, but we're taught that it's bad because, because it's the devil. That's the devil. You don't talk to somebody on the other side. Okay, are you telling me that the devil will take time out of his busy day to come and make me feel better about somebody who passed away? How does that make any sense? It doesn't. Anyway, I got my thing up here so I can see now. All right, let me go back, see what I missed here. Now, my monkeys, good to see you. Who am I missing? TNT, Grace, Justin. And I'll tell you a story. And if you want to know, I'll tell you how you can talk to your loved ones who have crossed over. Everybody's got the ability to do it. You just haven't been taught. I knew when my husband passed away that he immediately started talking to me. And he would show, not like in a voice, but he would show me that he's there all the time. I just didn't know, I got a dog underneath my feet here. He's kind of crunching me. Oh, my notifications went out. That's good because sometimes they don't. It gets lost in the mail, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. You said you believe. Yep. Okay, that's right. Laptop right there. One of the hardest commandments to love. Well, actually, that's not even the commandment. The fifth commandment it doesn't even say to love your mother and father. It says to honor your father and your mother, so the days of your life will be long in the land that you're. Let me think. It says, honor your mother and your father, so the days of your lives will be long in the land I'm giving you, or something like that. It's because, and that commandment is to honor your mother and your father because there's another commandment in there that says, not in the 10 commandments, but in the 613 laws that the Hebrew Israelites had, is that if you have a disorderly son, you're supposed to off him. Yeah, you're supposed to take out disorderly children. In fact, you'd think, oh, parents wouldn't do that. Are you kidding? It happens so often that they actually had another rule to it, that before you off your children for being disorderly, you bring him to the priest and we'll make sure that he's not redeemable. Okay, so that's really what that does, is honor your mother and your father, so the days of your life. I don't know, word for word. Honor your mother and your father, so the days of your life will be long in the land that I've given you, or something like that. So you're not put to death early. You know what I'm saying? I've never felt like this was my family. Still don't. Okay, you know what? That's funny because I felt like that too. And as a matter of fact, so get this. So back in the 90s, I was working at a doctor's office, right? And I come from a family of a mixed family, right? My mother was married, had a family first. My dad was married, had a family. And then my mom and dad got married, had me. So I kind of always felt like the odd one out. But anyway, so back in the 90s, the radio station was having like a contest, right? It was a radio station that we had on in the office, in the doctor's office, especially in the waiting room. They always had the radio going. And so my sister worked there too at the time. She works in the medical records and I was a nurse and whatever. And anyway, they had a contest that if you Xerox your palms of your hands and send them in, then we'll have a palm reader read your hands live on air. And they were going to pick 5 people out of the thousands of people. So the next day, we did. And I have really weird palm prints, you guys, the kind that they'll say that you'll never have. So I knew my palm prints I knew they would pick mine because I have a line that people don't never have. So anyway, I sent mine in, my sister, we all did. The next morning, I was driving to work, and they were starting to read them, and just as before I come into work, they read mine. They pulled mine was the last one. They had 4 of them, and the last one they pulled was mine. And the lady that was reading my poem said, a lot of things that were true. It was kind of scary true. It was so true. But she said, you've always felt like the outsider looking in, almost like you're outside the house, peeking through the window at the rest of your family who's living their life inside the house. And I thought, wow, I never really thought about that. But after that, I thought, yeah, that's like exactly how I felt. You know what I mean? Like you're looking in. But anyway, what I find out later in life is that, because that's what I needed to make to grow, you know what I mean? Because we're here to grow our soul, to learn and to grow and to enrich our souls, you know what I mean? And that's why if you're going to ask for help from the universe, they've got strict rules, you know what I mean? It's very holy, and there's, when you ask for something, it has to be from the heart. Your motive has to be, to serve, and it has to be for the greater good of everybody. And you have to be humble and grateful. So when you ask for something from the heavens above, it has to be for the greater good of everybody. So I can't say, okay, I have plenty of grandkids, okay, but this will be just an example. Like if I didn't have no grandkids, I would say, oh God, give me a grandchild. I want a grandchild. Well, if it's not for the greater good of everybody, including the child, the mother, the father, everybody around, then no, you don't get it. If something's for the greater good. Now that's just an example. Say you want whatever you want, it can't take away from somebody else. You know what I mean? So there's rules and stuff like that. I saw somebody mention Dolores Cannon. I love Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was, she passed away a few years ago. And she proved something that her theory. And I've said some things that she would agree with. Like how we plan how long we're going to be here, right? We plan we're going to be here till we're 5 years old, or maybe die at birth, or maybe 20 years old, or 50 years old, or maybe 90 years old. And so we already know. And that's why nothing will really kill you. If you plan on being here, 90 years, nothing's going to take you out before that. You know what I mean? Because however long it's going to take you to learn this particular lesson, that's how long you put. And she's one that actually proved that, because Dolores Cannon was amazing. I have one actually right here. I have her book. I have one of her books. Where is it? I just had it. Here it is. Right here. And actually her daughter wrote a book too. I'll show you. Between Death and Life, Dolores Cannon. All right, she studied a lot about the afterlife. And how she learned about the afterlife is that she was putting people under hypnosis. Remember, like in the 80s or whatever it was, I don't know, maybe 70s, where they started hypnotizing people, hypnotizing them to stop smoking cigarettes, hypnotizing them to to lose weight and all that kind of stuff. And she was hypnotizing people for that. And what she noticed when she was hypnotizing people, that they would actually regress into former life, like past lives, you know what I mean? Like, into your previous lifetimes. And so she noticed that these people that she had under hypnosis, and there was another, who's the guy, Grace might know, the guy who actually, he kind of started this, a famous guy, who is it, Grace? Anyway, there was a famous guy who started doing this, but he barely scratched the surface. She got really good at it. She got to where she could put you under. She told everybody, I could solve your no smoking and losing weight problem within 3 minutes. But she had people up underneath for an hour or two. She was going into people's past lives. And it made a lot of sense. Like, so people, like I said, I'm really afraid of heights, you know what I mean? So I probably died falling off a cliff or something at some point. And if you have like birthmarks, weird birthmarks, it's probably where you got stabbed or something in your previous life. She goes into all this previous life stuff. And she noticed that a lot of people's problems, like some people who have migraine headaches, that will be one thing that carries over into your, like maybe a head injury or something, like certain things from past lives. Anyway, I really like her studies. I've studied her a lot. In fact, like I said, I got a book of hers right here in my hand. Yeah. And you can love from a distance, you know what I mean? You haven't been able to count on once since my son's father died 2 weeks before you started. And my son, Yep, and that's the thing. Look how independent you are when you can't count on anybody, and all you have is yourself. You know how strong you are. It's like going to the gym and lifting weights every day. You're stronger than most people, mentally. You know what I mean? Mother passed in 2022. She lived with me the past 10 years. 96 when she passed. Speaks to me in my dreams. Okay, that's one way that they come to you. Absolutely, they come to you in your dreams, because your brain, your mind never really. Okay, so your body and your brain, your body physically has to rest every day, every night or whatever. But your soul never gets tired. So you do a lot of traveling when you're dreaming. And so they will, your loved ones will come to you in dreams. And one way that you know probably for sure is if you have an interaction. Like sometimes I've had dreams, like my mom passed away a long time ago. And sometimes I'll have dreams like I go somewhere and my mom's like at this family gathering. And I'm thinking to myself in the dream, like, gosh, I swear my mom died. Like, what is she doing here? And in fact, I always try to think, yeah, I remember the funeral. Like, how was she at this party? And then I always just blow it off and just whatever, go about my dream. But if they talk to you, you respond back and forth, then yeah, that's definitely them. Yeah, 96 is a very good run. Hey, T-Bro, I'm sorry. I'm looking at two people. I combine your names. Hey, T-Bro, good to see you tonight. Welcome. Yep, God's will, that's right. You believe in past lives? Yep. And so, yeah, so when you come, and so when we're here, we have all kinds of help that we're not taught about. You have angels to protect you. Okay, so when I leave the house and in my truck, before I leave, I stop, I pause, and I pray that angels protect me and guide my path and all this stuff, and protect me and the animals and my property and all that stuff. We also have spirit guides, people, spirits that guide you. Okay, you also have you've got loved ones that have crossed over, and like if you have loved ones that weren't really very helpful here, believe me, it's way easier for them to help you from the other side than it is to help you from here. So if you have loved ones that crossed over, they can help you too. They can help you all kinds of stuff. Let's see, angels, spirit guides. You have relatives. You also have loved ones. You also have they call them ancestors. Ancestors are relatives that have passed away that you never even met. They passed away long before you were even born, and they're there. So you've got a whole team. You've got all these resources. Now, I'll tell you how to begin if you ever want to try to talk. Because I'm telling you, it would be a different world if people just realize that when your spirit leaves the body, you're not dead, you're not gone, you're not suffering. You are just, your spirit steps out of your body, period. That's it. Yeah, the body goes away. But your spirit lives on forever, and you can watch over people on earth, and you can communicate. I communicate with my loved ones whenever I feel like it, even my pets. You know what I mean? They deliberately removed every reference to reincarnation from the absolutely tenacity for truth. Good to see you. You're right. Now they did. They've intentionally, deliberately, like they said, took away them Bible passages. They don't want you to know that life goes on. They want you to think if you don't do what they say, you're going to burn in flames forever. What kind of a dad, what kind of a father would burn you forever? Because what, you thought the wrong thing, you believe the wrong religion. That's so weird and silly, because it depends on where you are in history, when were you born, and where were you born. That's your religion. All right. If you were born in the Western world at this present time, the last 2,000 years, yeah, you're probably Christian. If you were born in India, you're probably Hindu. You know, if you were born in Saudi Arabia, you're probably a Muslim, period. You know what I mean? And if you're back in Jesus' day and you're in the Romans, you believed in Zeus or Jupiter, whoever. You wouldn't, you know, if you were born in a different place, if you're born over there, oops, sorry. Okay, he didn't like that. I bumped him. If you're born in Jesus' day, you would have believed in Zeus or something, you know what I mean? So anyway, people are hung up on religions, and religions are there. Anyway, if you knew you had all this help, you wouldn't be so worried about dying. And that, do you ever see cultures that don't really sweat it when their relatives die? They do like a mandatory 3 days mourning or whatever. And yeah, you're going to miss them, but they're there whenever you want them. I'll tell you how I connected with my husband who passed away just not that long ago. I don't know if it was last summer, but I connect with him all the time. And I'll tell you a perfect example. You're RH negative can't be hypnotized. Really? Can't be hypnotized? I didn't know that. I find hypnosis kind of interesting and amazing. Doctor, well, good to see you tonight, too, bro. I'm glad you're here. Your father passed away in 81. You're 23. I really dream about him. Yeah. And on the other side, you guys, time really doesn't exist. In fact, the longer they're gone, it's probably the easier to get a hold of them. Like when somebody passes, when their spirit leaves their body, in the first 3 days, they might be here. You know what I mean? They're here, they're visiting, they're kind of going by, you know. Anyway, once their spirit leaves after a few days, you really shouldn't even try to contact them for a couple different reasons. Because for the first 6 months, or so, maybe a year, at least a few months. Give them at least a few months, because once somebody crosses over, like I said, you have your life review. You have you got to settle back into being in a spiritual world and all that. So there's an adjustment. There's all kinds of things, and also you might be in a mind frame of grief, and grief is a horribly low vibration, and the spirit world cannot, they really can't interact with you when you're in a depression, when you're crying, when you're in a dark place. Your loved ones will not get a hold of you then. I mean, you have to at least be out of the grieving period and stuff, because yeah, when you're in that deep dark of a place, they just can't lower themselves to that type of a dark vibration like that. Yeah. Let's see. No, you can leave a link, Grace. When I dream about my parents, I wake up crying. Your great grandma passed in 94. But 97, she's there for me. Yes. You smelled her perfume and she asked me what I'm doing. There you go. Bam. You see, like I said, if, you know, and if you have a loved one that passed away, if they could just come and tell you one time that they're okay, would you feel better? Heck yeah, you would. You know, they're not laying in the ground. They're not burning in hell. They're not, you know what I mean? So you could just talk to somebody one time and make sure that they're okay, and it'd probably be life-changing for a lot of people. You know how many people grieve themselves to death? Somebody dies and then they pass away or whatever, and they're probably giving their loved ones all kinds of signs, but the loved one isn't catching it, and they just grieve themselves into the grave. You know what I mean? And it wouldn't shouldn't be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Your husband passed this past New Year's Eve. He was 68. Haven't felt him around me at all. I think he went straight on to wherever he's going. My pets, I feel, are near me. Pets, I feel, are near me. Yeah, but that was just in January of this year. That's only been a few months. I would give it a few more months because, like I said, for the first 6 months or so, I wouldn't even try to get a hold of them for the first 6 months. It gets you in a better frame of mind. It gets them, they got, there's things that they do when they cross over. So it's just like when your spirit enters into a body and on earth here. Okay, so when you're born, your soul is born into that baby that is born, right? So you're born as a baby, out comes you, your soul is in a body, and you're born. And this earth here is so hard and such a heavy vibration, such a low vibration compared to where they come from. The spiritual world is love and light and anyway, the earth is a rough place to be, really. There's sin here, there's all kinds of darkness, but that's why the baby will sleep like for the first year, because it is so overwhelming that the baby, it's hard for the soul to come into this atmosphere down here because it is not like it is on the other side. And that's why the babies have to sleep all the time at first. Anyway, I would give it some time, dear Jane. And so I'll tell you recently how I just wanted to say hi to my husband that passed over, and even though I've it's been many, many years, and he's always saying hi to me, but one specific day I wanted him to say hi. Kind of missed him and kind of wanted to say hi to him. I want him to say hi to me, and I'll tell you about that in a second. Let's see. Your dad's 84, not doing so well. The other day, he told me his brother came to him in a dream. Yeah, there you go. And he died in his 30s. I told my dad, he was telling him it's okay. Yes. And you're good to see you tonight, time girl. And your loved ones are waiting on the other side, and they know when you're going to cross over. The veil gets real thin. It's like a curtain that goes from blackout curtains to sheer, where you can see through them, so they can see people on the other side, and the other people, your loved ones, are on the other side, and they're waiting to greet them. That's why when people are passing away, they'll see their loved ones. Oh, hey, there's my grandma, there's mom, and there's my brother, and yeah, good to see you tonight. Say it out loud. This thing's kind of the comments are kind of jumping. But yeah, and you have to just ask them to show you a sign, and they will. But yeah, I would give your husband a little bit more time. It's only been a few months. But yeah, my mother-in-law, before she died, right before my husband did. Thank God she didn't have to see my husband die. But we watched her die, and her childhood friend she's known her whole life was there. And my mother-in-law was blind, from birth. But she could see, and she could see her friend, and she could see all kinds of stuff as she was passing away. She's saying, "Oh, isn't it beautiful?" And she was calling out her name, saying, "Oh, it's so beautiful." And I thought, that's where she can see. You know what I mean? My dad's always told me he doesn't think they see us down here because God wouldn't let them hurt. No, they do. They can see us, and they can help us if you want. We have free will, okay? And they can't interfere with our free will. We have to ask for the help, okay? They're not going to interfere because say they went to go get a job and they didn't ask the angels or the heavens for help, right? Say you go get a job and they get the job, and or they didn't get the job. Just say they didn't get the job, but say the angels interfered and made sure they got that job, and then the person gets some kind of sickness from the job or something, you know what I'm saying? And they would say, well, why? Because the thing is, when we go back up to the heavens after we pass, we don't want to have to say, well, why did you interfere? And why didn't you just let me do that? Okay. It doesn't happen like that. You have to ask for their help. They cannot help you unless you ask. And I've said this before, you know, your angels and your spirit guides and your loved ones and people have crossed over. They're sitting there waiting like the Maytag repairman, waiting for the phone to ring. When is she going to ask me for help? They're sitting there because we're taught we didn't even get taught all this stuff. You don't even know there's help, so you never ask them, but they can't interfere. It's free will. You have to ask it. Once you ask, you have to be humble, you have to be grateful, and it has to be for the greater good of everybody around you. So say if I want something, but it's going to make my neighbors suffer, then I'm not going to get it. You know, they know. And it's so anyway, you have to come from a certain place when you ask for things. Your 2 Dutch hounds who passed years ago have come to me in my dreams. They miss me. Yes. Yeah. Your pets do cross over, and your pets can come back as another pet sometimes. But those pets were put into your life to teach you something that humans can't teach you. You know, believe me, every one of my animals, I can tell you there's something that each one of them has taught me. Like I said, the German Shepherd definitely taught me. I thought I had the patience of a saint. There's a little room for improvement, but this dog really tests me, my patience. My thought on the new earth, as in the book of Revelation at the very end chapter. So in the book of Revelation is the last chapter in the Bible, in the New Testament. And they talk about a new Jerusalem coming down from the sky. I don't believe in that. I don't, Christopher. But it is a cube. It's 1,346 miles in each direction. So just imagine 1,400 mile cube, each direction, and 1,450 miles high. So it's a big cube. It's got 12 floors, one for each disciple. And then there's 12 doors, gates, 3 on each side, 3, 6, 9, 12. And then each gate is a gigantic pearl. And each one of those is for each tribe of Israel. And each level of heaven, this is heaven, okay? This is supposed to be the New Jerusalem, right? It's a cube, and it comes down after the earth is destroyed, and God tears it up and rolls it up like a scroll and throws it away. A new heaven and earth comes down. It's a cube. And no, I think that's kind of pretty much written out of past religions. But anyway, each level is color of a stone. So you have, you've got ruby, and you've got emerald, and you've got agate. I don't know, some other things you never heard of. And that comes down. And it's called the New Jerusalem, which is really interesting because Jerusalem over there in Israel started as Salem, Salem. It started as Salem. Okay, Salem, like Salem, Massachusetts. So it started as Salem, and then after it was destroyed and built back up, it ended up to be the New Salem, which is called Jerusalem. So it's the New Salem is Jerusalem, means New Salem. And then now this is going to be the New Jerusalem. So it's going to be the New Salem. You know what I mean? I don't know if they thought about that ahead of time. Anyway, so that's what I think of that. And then in the New Jerusalem, it's called they'll say it says somewhere in there, it might be the letters from Paul, I can't remember, but it says, in my Father's house there are many mansions. Okay, so each person's going to get their own mansion. and there's going to be streets of gold, and what else? There ain't going to be no death or anything, so it's going to be vegan. You know what I mean? But there's going to be there's going to be fruit trees, and each fruit tree is going to have 12 different fruits on, and each month it's going to be different. And there's going to be a river of life with some fresh river. And what I've told people is that this is whoever wrote that is writing their version of what they think heaven will be like. It's just like if you're you got two men stranded on an island, and you ask them what is their version of heaven, or ask people in a prison, what is your version of heaven? They're going to say, oh man, it's going to have steaks this thick, and there's going to be all the food we can have, and and there's going to be a bunch of women. So every religion's got like their version of what heaven's going to be. Okay, there's going to be a bunch of virgins, right? I mean, that's, what I'm saying. So each religion's got like their version. And back when this was written, these people had no water. Okay. They live in a desert. Water's always been a matter of life and death for them. It's always been water, water, water. So to them, it'll have endless crystal clear water. And don't worry, we're never going to run out of food. There's going to be all kinds of food. There's going to be fruits and 12 different fruits on each tree. And we're going to be so rich that the streets are going to have gold. Now, I don't know, is the God so vain that he's got to gold plate everything? And remember, the temple that was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, that everything was wrapped in gold, okay? Everything was covered in gold. So back when this was written, they covered gold and everything. It was like a status thing. It was like, so yeah, of course everything's going to be covered in gold. You know what I mean? This is somebody's imagination. Like, what do you think? But what really happened is once you leave your body, you go up in the sky, and your spirit is free, and you go back to where your family is. Anyway, so that's the New Jerusalem. That's in the very last. It's like at the very end. I think it's the last chapter of Revelation. I know it's the very last. I don't know if there's 24 chapters. I can't remember how many chapters, but it's the last chapter. It'll tell you about it. Anyway, that's somebody who has not had enough food, not enough water, and not enough money. It's like saying, okay, my couches are going to be made of $100 bills. Anyway. Yes, people do die of broken hearts, and you don't have to. You could find out, hey, you can contact, okay, here. So I'll just tell you. So, last summer, the summer before, and this is a story that I tell people, how I use this as an example, because from the time my husband died, immediately I got signs that he was there all the time. My son, right after he died, my son was outside snowboarding. He was going off this jump that him and his friend made. And my son was in his 30s, 20s or 30s. They're not kids, but anyway, they were going down this hill in my yard and going off of a jump. And he told me to come out and take a picture as they're going off the jump, like in midair. So I went outside and I took a picture of him going off the jump in midair. And in that picture there was a perfectly clear face of my husband who just passed away. And he had some very distinct features, and that was him. And it was like a cloud, and he showed up in this picture. And right away, he always made sure he knew I was there. And I can give you example. But anyway, so last summer, I think it was, maybe summer before, one day I was going to go on a drive, and I had to go to a city, maybe half an hour away. So I take off, and I'm about to get on the freeway, and I said a prayer. I said to my loved one, my honey, I said, I haven't heard from you for a little bit, and I'm going to go on this drive here, and I'm just wondering if you could give me a sign that you're watching me today. And please give me a sign that I'm not going to have any doubt at all. No doubt whatsoever that it's you. Okay. So please give me a sign today that you're there and there's no way I can deny it. Anyway, then I went about my business. Okay. Got on the freeway, went for my drive. My friend calls up and says, hey, I'm in your neighborhood. Can I stop by? And she said, I got something for you. And I said, actually, I'm not home. In fact, I'm not even going to be home for like 2 hours or something like that. And she said, I'll come some other time. I said, all right. And then, anyway, I went and did my stuff. When I came back, my friend told me that she stopped by my house anyway, and I left you a present. And then she said it's a round back on that bench. I thought that's weird because she leaves things for me. She leaves tomatoes. She always leaves things for me right outside my door. But for some reason, she went out and not listen. I live out in the middle of nowhere. You have to get through a gate to get in here. Okay, nobody's gonna come walking by here. But for some reason, unknown, she took a package and she put it around back and said, "I have a present for you. It's on the bench and back." And I got home and I thought, what the heck kind of present is she giving me? And I went around to the back and there it is. It's a present and it's sitting on a bench. And that bench has got a plaque on it. And that bench is dedicated to the loving memory of my husband. And it has his name on it. And there's a package sitting, a present on his bench. This is his bench, my husband's bench, with a plaque on it. It's dedicated to him. And I open it up and it's a bag of weed. My friend brought me over a bag of weed and put it on that bench, which is kind of funny because when my husband and I, we smoked weed. And at 4:20 every day, we smoked weed. And anyway, I got home and there was a bag of weed on there on his bench. And I called my friend. I said, what made you bring this over to me? She said, I don't know. I just felt like it. And I said, but what made you go around to the backyard all the way back to and put it on that bench? And she said, I don't know. I just did. And so, bam. I mean, that's definitely from him. Anyway, and it was just no explanation. She doesn't even know why she did it. She doesn't even know why she did it. Never brought weed over and just dropped it on my bench. Nothing like that. And I just thought, God, that's weird. Anyway, and I told him, thank you that's quite the confirmation. It's on his bench too. I said, but what made you go all the way into the backyard and put it on his bench? She said, I don't know. But he made sure she did. All right. And so was that my confirmation beyond a reasonable doubt? Yes. So, yeah. And yeah, Grace remembers because I told everybody about it on my live stream that night or whatever. My next live stream, I told everybody what happened. I feel so sorry for my dad. He's afraid of dying. Doesn't. You know what, Italian girl? A lot of people are afraid of dying. And my dad is afraid of dying too. And I'm trying to have him not be afraid because there's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, once their soul leaves their body, everybody's happy, really happy. Nobody's going to hell. You're not going to get punished. Don't worry about it. You're going to go and, has anybody heard of the Akashic Records? Check into that because it's a library that you can actually go to. You can just say a prayer and go to it. And it's a big giant library and it's all kinds of references to it in the Bible, the Book of Life. And you can go up there and check out your Book of Life. I'll go over the Akashic Records at some point, but if you don't know about it, check into it. There's a lady named Linda Howe, Howe, Linda Howe. And she's like the pioneer of just kind of chill out and you can go up there and check out your past lives, your present lives. You can ask any question that you want, but it's very holy and very, there's rules to it and stuff. But that should, I don't know, that should put people's minds at ease that nothing to be worried about. Firstborn rarely slept. Bad case of colic. Oh, that can be really hard on the mama. Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of people are afraid of dying. And gosh, I hope what I tell people will help get rid of that fear because it is everybody's gonna do it and there's nothing to be worried about. And you're going to die when you're going to die. In fact, so Dolores Cannon, who did the deep hypnosis for past life regression studies, she was in her 80s, I think. She was pretty old, but she's active. They were going on tours. she's been going around the world for decades and decades and decades teaching people about past lives and about spirituality and stuff. And so, and she always had her hair perfect. I mean, like she just came from the beauty salon. Okay. That was very important to her, and always had that fresh, beautiful hair look. And so she went to the hairdresser one day, and she slipped on a curb or something. But anyway, she fell and hit her head. And so she had to, she was in the hospital. She almost died. And her daughter, whose name is Julia Cannon, she's done her own. She used to tour with her daughter, and her daughter's written a book and all this other stuff. But the daughter, who everybody knows, asked everybody to pray for her mom. And everybody prayed, and her mom like got better, you know what I mean? But it wasn't part of the plan. Her soul knew it was time to go. And even though she recovered, she recovered enough to go home, and then something happened, and she ended up in the hospital, and she ended up dying a couple weeks later. So, I mean, it was her time to go. I'm trying to catch up on your comments there. Yeah. Yeah. Lord means master. And it means, and it can also mean teacher, master. Master is a teacher. That's why you get your master's degree. You know what I mean? Master means teacher. Yeah, tomorrow is 420. But yeah, your pets should teach you unconditional love. Yep, they teach a lot of stuff. Do I ever get the feeling something bad's about to happen to a particular person that you know? And if you do, what do you do about it? I don't know if I ever really do. I guess sometimes I usually don't do anything, but yeah, you remember the gift on the bench? Yeah, that was, there's no doubt that was from him. It was on his bench too. I do. I live out in the middle of nowhere, you guys. And so why she had to go around put it. In fact, my friend knows how to get through the gate. If she tells me ahead of time, it's okay. Just go through the gate. And I got security and everything else. I got cameras. And so there's no way somebody would have came up here. She could have put it right next to the door. Yeah, there's nobody's going to go by here and see anything. Yeah, I told Grace on the phone. I did. I was really, yeah, it is 420 tomorrow. But yeah, I really couldn't. Sylvia Brown. Yes. Okay. So Sylvia Brown, I did a video about her one time, you guys. I don't think I put it up. But Sylvia Brown was known for probably having the most wrong predictions ever. Back when, so Sylvia Brown got really popular when she used to come on the Montel Williams show every Wednesday. Montel Williams put a spot for her every Wednesday. And during that time, I had my back surgery and I was home during the day. Now, normally I wasn't home during the daytimes, but I was home during the daytimes when she was there. And she was, anyway, so I watched her on Montel Williams every Wednesday, and she never really got anything right. She told people their family members were dead when they weren't. And then she told them they were alive when they were dead. You know what I mean? And she never really got too much right. But I believed in her at the time. I believed that she was. And so back in the 90s, I think it was, when she was on there, I went to the library and I checked out a book because we didn't really have internet like you do now. You know what I mean? So I went to the library and I checked out, Grace knows this. I checked out Sylvia Brown books. I checked out 2 Sylvia Brown books on the library. And it just never brought them back. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think to this day I owe the library $12. And they sent me a notice that I owe them money. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think I've maybe shook them. I've left the area. And I think they stopped looking for me. But by the time I returned them, I owed more than the book was worth. because I know the book wasn't worth $12, but in order to go back, I had to return that, and before I checked out anything else. So, yeah, I'm sure I still got a mark on my record down there, but yeah, the fine, and I think you could pay the price of the book or the fine, which the fine was more than the book. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, most wrong predictions ever. Yeah, she was, and her ex-husband said that one time he told her, "Don't you feel bad about ripping people off like this?" Because they both, her and her husband, knew it was all a scam. And she said, "No, if they're stupid enough to believe this stuff, then they deserve to lose their money," or something like that. That was her ex, so I don't know. Take it as you want. John Edwards. Well, I used to really think highly of John Edwards, but yeah, I found out what he does. He does the fishing or something. So what these people do, and it's just like the Long Island. Yeah, Teresa is Long Island Medium, I think is who you're talking. Same thing, Long Island Medium, John Edwards. What they do is they have these seminars, right? You can pay a lot of money to go to these seminars. But what they do is they have you fill out a bunch of stuff, and then they interview people, and there's like hours of stuff before. And then finally they go in and they have this show. Well, they've already what do they call it? What do they call that, Grace? When they get information from you, they get your name, okay? Then they go back and they've got hours, and they're looking at your Facebook, and they see, oh, R.I.P. mom, and oh, my brother died from cancer or whatever. So they're back there, and during these 3 hours or whatever, they're mining information on you. And then they'll say, okay, somebody over here, if somebody over here have a brother die from cancer over in this area over here? Oh, okay, yeah. He said he liked Harley Davidsons a lot. Is that true? Oh, yeah, he loved Harley Davidsons. Well, yeah, because that's what he's, the picture on his, RIP page, Yeah. So what they do, what do they call it? Not mining for information. There's a term for it. Yeah, so I may be banned from the library. I paid them, but I think I got a mark on my record. I think they could be looking for me right now. Yeah, she's got a horrible track record. And I did do a video about Sylvia Browne. Now that I think of it, I don't think I ever posted it. Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't been to this. Yeah. Well, so I had a choice if I could pay the $12 of the price of the book, and the book was less than the $12. But after that, I didn't want to go there anymore. Yeah. 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 So if they don't have so they want to have your name ahead of time. So they've already looked at Facebook. They've looked, so they've got your old subscriber from years back from my channel here, Wisecracker. Different name. Oh, yeah. So who were you before? Anyway, welcome back. Yeah, pre-screening. Oh, what do they call it? There's a name for it. There's like the hard kind and the soft kind. The one is where they just have you fill out all the stuff. And the other kind is where they kind of fish it from you, from the audience. That's why you are there for 3-4 hours before you. And then when you go in the thing where they do the microphone and they ask the audience questions, that's only like 30 minutes, but you just spent 4 hours there while they're searching your background and stuff. Anyway. You were happy camper? How was the second? Yeah. Well, hey, happy camper, welcome back. Yes, it has been years. Welcome back. Yes, I remember Keto Cheeto. Who can forget Keto Cheeto? Yeah, Grace remembers Keto Cheeto. Anyway, welcome back, Keto Cheeto. You had a family friend who was a psychic and helped the police with crimes. Really? You see, now that That I do believe in. And in fact, so you'll hear different opinions on that. You'll hear people say, the police never had any help. Yeah, they do. They get help. They just don't want to say it. They don't want to say it. And I mean, but yeah, you can do that. What they do is they do remote viewing. You can do remote viewing. But yeah. But yeah, you can definitely connect with your loved ones. And here I'll tell you how. Like if you have someone that you want to hear from, I'll tell you what I would do. And this is an easy way. Say you lost somebody and you wish that they would talk to you, right? Now remember, once your spirit leaves your body, you don't have a voice, okay? Now there are people who are clairvoyant, clairaudient, clair this and clair that, and they can actually hear, but most people can't, okay? Don't yes, there is a dispensary open tomorrow. Grace, congratulations on that. A second. So you can, so if you want to connect with somebody, remember they are energy. Okay. So like when I connected with my pet, I was sitting right here where I'm at. And even this was a few years back because I used to be on a nightly live stream every night. And my lights started flickering. And I told everybody, I think I've got like an electrical problem. And I even had to talk to an electrician and then another electrician. And I had an electrician come out and all this other stuff. Because I thought I had electrical problems, but actually they were communicating with me because spirits are energy. All right. Energy. And so they can think about it. So they can show up on videos. They can show up on pictures. They can show up as a ball of energy. Okay. Because they are energy. Your spirit is energy. And so what can energy do? It can interfere with electricity. It can dim a light. It can, they can actually even do things just electrical. Okay. Just think of that anything electrical they can do. They can do a lot of anything that has to do with energy. As a matter of fact, so like I'm always in connection with my loved ones on the other side, with my spirit guides and my angels. Now, just earlier, I had a high ringing tone, right ear. So, the ringing in your ears, it's called tinnitus, but that's the medical name. And okay, if you have, I got a herd of deer going through my yard right now. My dogs are going crazy. So they will connect to you like with numbers 222 333 444. Okay. 1111. They connect you with numbers. You'll look at the clock and it's 222. And then you look at something else and it's 222. Okay. Pay attention. This is how they get a hold. This is how they connect. Also the ringing in the ears. Now, if you have a medical problem, go seek a doctor. Okay. And all that stuff. But there is also messages, how they connect you was ringing in the ears. Right ear, left ear means two different things. Okay. Right ear, high pitch, low pitch, high and low pitch, two different things. So if it's right ear, high pitch, look up what that means. Right ear, low pitch, look up what that means. Left ear. So there's all these things they're trying to get a hold of people. And I always laugh when people say, I got ringing in my ears. And the doctor said they don't know. Right. It's not, the doctor isn't going to know it. But they're communicating with people, but people aren't getting it. Can you imagine how just frustrating it is for your loved ones to try to get a hold of you? And you're, like me, I'm hiring an electrician. And instead of saying, hey, they're flicking the lights. When I talk, the light goes flicks. And then I finally said, okay, 1 for yes, 2 for no. And they started clicking 1 and 2. So I learned, okay, when the lights flicker, ask a question. Now ask, who is it? Yeah, they'll leave a feather. If you find a feather, there's all kinds of things. Cardinals, right there, a cardinal, not my monkeys. Cardinals are always from the spirit world, almost 99 out of 100 times. All right, the cardinal are definitely from the spirit world. The cardinals, that's a big one. Yep. Question though, how can spirits still be there if they come back as somebody else? Well, they're not going to come back as somebody else in your lifetime or my lifetime. Okay. We're not going to come back and probably maybe for 100 years or something. There's not really a time on it, but we're not going to come back when people are still here that we know. I mean, and not your entire spirit comes to earth. Part of your spirit, they call it your higher self, your consciousness. Okay. You have a consciousness. You guys might think it is an inner voice. You ever have something happen where you say, something tells you don't do that. I wouldn't go there, or no, I shouldn't call that person. Your inner voice is your own consciousness, is your own spirit guiding you, saying, nah, don't go that, don't turn down there, don't open that, don't. And so how many times have you said to yourself, dang it, I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway, because we will ignore our own warnings. You know what I mean? So they're trying to help you, whether it's your own higher consciousness or it is God or whoever you want to call it. And they don't really care if you know which one's helping. They're as a team, right? And they're working as a team to help you down here. So they don't care if you know it's Bob or Jim or Sally. You know what I mean? It's not really important to them unless it's important to you. You know what I mean? But help is help. But it's your gut feeling. That's what it is. It's a gut feeling. Okay. Your gut feeling is it's either your soul, your higher self, your soul, or God, somebody from the heavens up there. Yeah. When my great grandma asked me what I was doing at 1 a.m, it wasn't loud. It was in my head and I wasn't scared. Yep. That definitely is her. And they say between 12 and 3 is I don't know. But anyway, in the middle of the night is when the veil is the thinnest. I heard a voice at the same time. I smelled her perfume. Yeah, and that's another thing. So if you want to connect with somebody on the other side, you just tell yourself, ask yourself first, what would it take for me to say, yes, that is my loved one? Like if I could hear from my loved one, what would it take for me? Like remember, I asked him, I said, please make it so it's something I cannot say it. I cannot explain away. So you could say to your loved one, hey, I would really like to know if you're here. Is it true? Can you see me? Are you here? And they don't sit here all the time, 24/7. Okay. You know how you connect to them? You think about them. When you think about them, then you get their attention and they'll listen. Okay. Because they're just like anybody else. You're not with anybody 24/7 usually. If it's your parents, how often you talk to your parents? Here and there, every week, every day, whatever. But nobody's around you usually 24/7. So nobody's going to be around you 24/7. But all you have to do is think about them. And when you think about them, you'll get their attention. Okay. So then they're not sitting here 24/7 watching everything. They got better things to do. All you have to do is think about them. And their ears are, they'll hear. So just think about them. And this even works with people who are alive. If I think about somebody enough, they will call me on the phone. And I'll say, wow, I was just thinking about you. As a matter of fact, just like Justin here, I was just thinking about Justin and he showed up. He was one of the first ones that came in here tonight. Right. So you can communicate mentally with people, let's see. So ask yourself, what would it take to convince you that this person is there when you want them to. You know what I mean? Would it be the smell of their perfume or their cologne? Would it be flicking a light? Would it be them putting something on their dedicated bench? What would it be, you know? How do you know that about the cardinal? Well, when my mom died, a cardinal kept coming on and sitting on my dad's deck. And I looked it up many years ago. The red cardinal is from the other side. You can Google it right now, probably. Red cardinals are from the other side. It's usually it's a loved one that's crossed over, and usually it's recent, but it doesn't have to be. I would call some of that coincidence. Yeah. Leave feathers behind. My mother always said she would see 222 everywhere, and it was her mother. Yeah, so the repeating numbers, stuff like that, and you can look it up. You can just Google, what is the spiritual meaning of 222? You know what I mean? Spiritual meaning of 111. You know. Yeah, feathers is another one. Butterflies. A butterfly is a huge one. Butterflies. I've heard of somebody who actually had a butterfly land on them. Like if a butterfly follows you all over the place and tries to land on you and just like won't leave you alone, that's probably a loved one. I've heard of somebody having a butterfly land on their arm when it was snowing. Yep. Hey, Sarah, good to see you tonight. Welcome. I could probably turn this on. Yeah, cardinals are a big one. Butterfly, dragonfly. Yeah, dragonflies too. Yep, butterflies and dragonflies. Yep. I've had a voice call my name since I was 5 years old. Very much freaked me out that I'm used to it now. Yeah, that's probably somebody from the other side. I had a cat that would communicate after eating taco salad. Your fortune cookies were always Wong. The voice I heard was a man with a deep voice. Yeah. You're definitely in trouble. Be careful summoning. Summoning. Yeah. Tried an early 20 out of body experience. And I'll tell you where the danger is, okay? Like, you never want to try to get a hold of any spiritual beings, family, anything, if you are in a low, dark place, okay? Or if you have any type of fear, don't do it. And I think that's why people get a bad experience on a Ouija board, because Ouija boards are scary. I had a bad experience when I was 12 with a Ouija board, me and my friend. And I can't even look at that thing. But yeah, when we were like 12 years old, we took out a Ouija board. And this is why I was scared of it for my whole life. So we're after school. We got the Ouija board and we brought it to my house first. And it said that one of our friends was gonna die or something. And then that was kind of weird. And then so we went to school and we told people that it said that this girl Pam was gonna die in a car wash or something. Anyway, so we were telling people at school that Ouija board was talking to us. And then and so they were all giving us questions to go ask when I'm gonna die, and ask. Anyway, so that day we went home and we went to my friend's house this time. It was her Ouija board. And there was a family of atheists, by the way. And we went upstairs and there was nobody home because it was after school and parents were at work. And we were way upstairs in the top bedroom, and we were demanding that the Ouija board prove that you're real and stuff like that. Well, all of a sudden we heard a car. Somebody was laying on the horn. Wah! Like laying on the horn. And we ran to the window. And we looked down onto the driveway, and all we could see was the roof of a car. And it was a gross, ugly black car, and it was scary looking. And we couldn't see who the driver was, but they were laying on the horn. And we were screaming. We were scared, and we threw that Ouija board back into the box. And anyway, it was so scary. And then the guy, he was revving up the engine. It was like a scene out of Christine, you know what I mean? That movie. And anyway, it scared the daylights out of us. And anyway, nobody should be messing probably with a Ouija board anyway, because number one, you go into it with fear, go into it with ignorance when you're a kid. You know, when you're young, you don't know stuff. Stay away from it. But we went into it with fear, you know what I mean? And Ouija boards are really antiquated. You know, it's like if you were using a dial-up phone right now. I mean, why? Why use something so antiquated and outdated and primitive when you can, you know, directly go up there? So it's like the telegraph machine. You know, nobody's doing telegraphs anymore. So I would just stay away from those Ouija boards and all that stuff. Yeah, you got to be careful. You're right. You had an out-of-body experience. Yeah, and you know what else I'm scared of is that astral traveling. Because if you know anything about the silver cord, there's a silver cord that connects your soul to your body. And anyway, if you know anything about that, about breaking that silver cord where your soul leaves your body, yeah, it's not good. So I would stay away from that too, that astral traveling. And that's not the same as going to the Akashic Library, you know what I mean, where the Book of Lives are up there. I've had so many experiences of afterlife and the witnesses of some of them, yeah. I just figured since my phone reads my mind, yeah. Well, yeah. Whenever you're curious, search spiritual meaning of something. Yeah, just always... If you think you're getting a sign from somebody or what, why do I keep seeing 1111 or what? Just Google spiritual meaning of number 222 or spiritual meaning of ringing high, you know, ear ringing, high pitch right ear, whatever. I mean, just Google spiritual meaning. What I think about children who talk to imaginary friends, I think that they are actually talking to people. I think that children, because listen, we're born with these abilities and everything. And from birth, we're told that, nope, you can't talk to people who cross over. Nope, you can't talk to spirits. Nope. Wrong, won't work. And so by the time you're 5, 6 years old, you've been pretty much talked out of anything that's going to help you connect with the spiritual. It's that's somebody who hasn't been convinced yet that it's not real. So as long as you're not, you know, convinced that none of the spiritual stuff isn't real, you're still gonna like, that's why kids can connect. And that's why kids can sometimes remember their past lives. You know, grown-ups can too. Yeah. Yeah, they're spirit guides. Yep, they're probably talking to spirit guides or loved ones or whatever. Oh, girlfriend took a toke or two for the first time. She left her body and was looking down at us sleep in a bed. Really? Was that off weed or something else? Yeah, that would be an out-of-body experience. Yeah. Sarah, my friend child, when I was little, had an imaginary friend, Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy was probably real, actually. And Jimmy, your friend probably was told over and over that the friend isn't real. Jimmy isn't real. And then after your mom and dad tell you 100 times Jimmy isn't real, then Jimmy goes away. I've seen orbs. Yeah, absolutely. They show up as orbs. I actually have seen orbs on my security system. I have a infrared, so anything energy or anything shows up on it, and you'll see dust on there, but you'll see orbs too. It's a huge difference. Orbs will show up on video, and it will show up on. Sometimes you can see with the naked eye, but usually it'll show up on videos and pictures. Orbs. And you'll know orb because I've got videos of orbs. They'll come up right up to the camera. and it's a ball. It's like, so imagine a ball, and inside is electricity, and the electricity is just flowing all different directions. I could post it. I've videotaped it a few times. So it's like a orb. It's a round circle, and inside is energy, and the energy is just like, it's crazy. Yeah. So Jimmy was probably real. Orbs, yep, and that's a lot, because remember, they're energy. When they cross over, they are energy. Okay, we're all energy, and that's why you have an EKG. That's why you can go to the doctor and they can hook up an EKG, electrocardiogram, to your chest, and it will have electrical impulses, because you've got electricity inside of you. And that's why when you die and your spirit tries to leave, they use the paddles and zip, they zap you back to life. They put that electricity back inside of you. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Glowing man and dog, yeah. Walking down a dirt driveway, demon of lust. Now the demons are different. Yeah, you got to make sure. And again, don't try to connect with anybody if you're not in a good place. You have to have a high vibration, a good energy. Clean, pure. Yeah, children are closer. Adults are programmed not to trust their intuition. That's right. Grace, my niece probably still has an imaginary friend. Oh, she hides it? Yeah, that's too bad. And that's why, because we live in a culture that's told you to be ashamed. And I believe that's, a ploy from the church to keep you coming back. If you knew you didn't need the church, then you wouldn't be handing them your money. And by the way, they tell you to tithe, T-I-T-H-E, tithe. Oh, tithe 10%. Okay, what page is that on? No, it's not. It's not part of the Bible. The only part of the Bible that says tithe. Tithe literally means 10th, 1/10. Tithe means 10th. What are you supposed to give a 10th up to? The priest, to the high priest back in the desert 4,000 years ago. There's 12 tribes, and the Levites were full-time priests, and they couldn't make a living. So everybody chipped in a 10th of what they had and gave it to the Levites, because they had to run the place, the church or temple or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's all bullcrap about giving them 10th of your earnings. Tell them to explain it sometime. Why are we giving you a 10th of our money? Okay, I got a bunch of animals going down to my pond. I got a pond, and every night at sunset, the animals, turkeys, deers, they all come down to the pond, and my dogs are just going crazy right now. I had a friend who was a cigarette smoker, and even though she's in her 49, she's always hid it from her parents. When her father died, she quit smoking. She's afraid he'd find out. He would find out, but he probably wouldn't really care. Because when you're a spirit and you're looking down, listen, they got a lot of compassion for us, because they know this is a really, really hard place to be down here. Very low vibration, low dark energy. It's not like being in the heavens. I had that happen today. I was singing another channel I hadn't seen in over a year. He popped up immediately when I scrolled on. Really? Yeah, and you can, if you want somebody, you can test this, okay? We have such energy that people don't realize. So you can think about somebody, just focus on somebody. And if you want, here, I'll tell you even more. So you can think about somebody, think about them really hard, and send your your energy to them, and they'll probably call you, okay? Because they'll think about you. It's just like if you ever been in a place and you can feel somebody staring at you from the back of your head. Like I can tell if I'm at a restaurant, I can tell if somebody's staring at me, okay? So you do the turn around and sure as shit, somebody's staring at you. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I'm saying? So you can feel when somebody's staring at you. Or if I've been staring at somebody, that person will turn around and look at me. And I'm like, oh, I'm looking over here. I'm just reading my menu. You know, they'll feel you staring, and you could feel them staring. You know what I mean? Yeah, your phone does read your mind in electronically. So many experience the afterlife and witnesses of some of them. Yep. And it's a lot healthier to know about these things because you don't have to worry about dying. You don't have to worry about this. Listen, when your time comes, it comes, okay? Nothing you can do about it. And that's already your plan. Now, just imagine this. Like I talked about earlier, if you grew up in a family that wasn't really nice to you, and you're going to, like my ex-husband was complaining his whole life that his dad died when he was 12. Well, imagine if this was your plan and you planned to be in a family where the dad dies when you're 12, so you can learn independence and you can learn self-love and you can learn things. And you put yourself into this plan and you put yourself into this family that, imagine that. And now you're down here and it happens and you bitch the rest of your life about it. When you go back there, you're going to say, man, why was I bitching? That was kind of part of the plan so I could grow my soul, All right, let me see if I can find out where I left off. You're in Tennessee, you moved to Michigan, Upper Peninsula. Oh, that's quite a move. You got married to a woman from Georgia? That's cool. Do I feed my deer or keep? No, they're coming for the pond. Actually, I think in my county it's illegal to feed the deer. Some places it's legal and some places it's not. But no, I don't feed them. It's a lot of food and the grass. They're always eating my grass in there. I have a big pond, and so the wildlife comes around, even the bears. Everybody comes to drink out of the pond at night. And if you look on Google image down on my property, if you look down on my property, you can see the paths. They have trails coming from different directions where they come in every night. In fact, there's a big billboard up on the freeway. It said, if you want to draw in wildlife, dig a pond. Yeah, because they'll come from all over for your water. They come for the water, but they stay for the food. They eat something out of the grass. I don't know what it is. Yeah, you have energy in the back of your neck, why you can feel sensation of someone staring at you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did I email you before, Kathy? I know it. I think it was wrong. Some people were emailing my Mayday email. I didn't get any of those because it's not the one I used. So I don't know. I'm really bad at emails. Bad police and all that. Is really like to tell you my story. Oh yeah, I would like that too, bro. I see, but you lost everything. Well, Grace, I didn't know that. I thought you were gonna say they're coming for the pot. No. In fact, if you have any crop like such crop, you're wise to put a 6-foot fence around it. Yeah, because they will eat my fruit trees. They'll eat anything. I had a plant last year that went about 11, 12 feet tall. Unexpectedly. But no, they're kind of, I think they want to get at their fruit trees. I don't know. What I noticed many years ago when I moved up here? I noticed everybody had these tall fences around their fruit trees. I thought, since I was coming from the city, I thought they had like a theft problem. I thought maybe people were stealing their fruit. No, it's for the deer because the deer come and eat all your fruit off your tree. So, yeah. But yeah, they'll strip that off. And then if you don't wrap the tree during the winter, the mice will eat the bark and the rabbits will eat your bark and kill the tree. I live by a river and swamp, but we have a bunch of deer and whatever, squirrels, rabbits, skunks, wiggles. Yeah, neighborhood kids, yeah. This is a really dangerous time of year right now in the spring. Everybody's having babies. Bears are coming out of hibernation with their cubs. Everything out here's got babies right now. And it was weird. I had a wood tick last night. A wood tick. Because we were walking back in the woods. I didn't think they'd come this early, but I had a wood tick last night. And but this time of year, I learned when I moved up here, my dogs were chasing something up a tree or to a tree. I thought it was a stray cat, but they were porcupines. And my dog got sprayed in the face with porcupine needles. And you guys, it was 9:00 at night. The sun was going down. And I found out the closest emergency hospital for a dog was about an hour and a half away. And anyway, we waited till the next morning. I called the vet emergency line, and they said he'll be all right till the morning or whatever. And the next day, I had to bring him in for surgery. They had to put him to sleep and put him, under. And then they took all the porcupine needles out of his face. And the vet told me that in the spring, this is when they get all their animal attacks. All right, this is when we get the animal attacks because everybody's got babies right now, and these animals get really vicious in the spring with their babies. So, keep them away from other animals in the spring, especially. And that was very expensive. He had to have surgery. But I found out later that I could have, because I thought, wait a minute. There's been thousands of years animals got poked with porcupine. Why do we have to have surgery on the dog to get them out? Well, you don't. What I found out is that when the porcupine goes to shoot the needles at you, they puff them up with air and they shoot them like javelins. Okay, so then it goes in. It's got a barb on it, like a fish hook. So it goes in, and it's got a barb. So it goes in. You can't pull it out. Okay, you can't pull them out. They got a barb like a fish hook. So what you do, I learned later after I paid hundreds of dollars for the surgery. You cut them needles, porcupine needles off, and it lets the air out of them. And then you put something, I can't remember if it was something like what it is. You put something on it and it will shrink the needles and they'll come out on their own. But that was expensive. A baby rabbit, yeah, that's sad. But yeah, you lose it. Dr. French put cages all around young fruit trees. And fruit trees are expensive, you guys. And once you've grown one, in fact, I have lost a pear tree to the rabbits eating the bark. I've lost 2 apple trees. And then now I got to go buy them all over again and plant them and start all over. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's very expensive to lose a fruit tree. Oh, bastards. Yeah. So anyway, what else do I want to talk about? Anything else? You should check out the Akashic Records. We'll talk about that sometime. It's a library that in the heavens, and you can say a prayer and just transport yourself to these Akashic Records. It's a library, and there's a book on everybody. Everybody's got a book. It's kind of hard to explain, so I won't probably get into that right now. But check into it if you want to know about that. It's got all your past lives, your present life, and your future lives in there. And mostly about the past. And you can also check on the property that you live in. If it's legally yours or if you have a lease, there's very strict rules up there in the heavens. And you can they'll tell you the past on your property that you're living in if you legally own it. It's really interesting. They don't shoot needles. I've been around, only contact unless they're breeding with Ninja Turtles. Well, I don't know. Here's what happened. The dogs, 2 of my dogs, all 3 of the dogs went running after something. I thought it was a stray cat, and they chased it into the weeds into this gigantic oak tree. And they're at the bottom of the oak tree barking. And I said, get over here now. And the German Shepherd comes running to me. But the other two were there and they're barking and barking. And I knew they had something. So all of a sudden, the big dog comes running out, whimpering, ar, ar, ar. It comes running out, comes over, runs up to me, drops on the ground and turns upside down like a cartoon. And he's freaking out because his face is filled with needles. And I asked the vet, I said, so you get a lot of dogs with porcupine needles in the face? She said, yeah. She said, your dog's lucky. He didn't get any in the eyes or anything, but it was in his nose. And I said, well, how many cats do you see with porcupine needles? She said, none. She's never saw a cat that got hit by a porcupine. So anyway, but it's very common for the dogs. I don't know. I didn't see it happen. All I know is the dog was there as I'm screaming for the dogs to get away because I thought it was a cat. I didn't know what it was. The dog comes running out of the bushes with his face full of porcupine needles. So I don't know. I don't think they shoot him out like javelins, but somehow they ended up in his face. Doorbell rang at my mother's house randomly and all hours a day and night after she died. Moved out 8 months after she's gone. Doorbell is still ringing even after she moved away. That's interesting. That is interesting. You know, the first house I ever bought was really haunted. I mean, really haunted. And I didn't know anything about that. That was back, I was 30 years old when I bought my first house. And I didn't know anything about the history of it, but it was really haunted. I mean, and when I bought the house, I was going through a divorce and so it was just me and my two kids. And I had two dogs too. And there was always like 3:00 every day. And I only knew it on the weekends or if I stayed home from work. But 3:00 every day, there would be, it sounded like a man coming down the steps sounds like a man with hard shoes coming down wood steps every single day at 3:00. And we had carpet on the steps. So there's no reason we should be hearing men's foot coming anyway. So we'd hear that. And then we'd also hear upstairs, there was a bathroom upstairs. And we always heard the door slam, 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 slam. You know what I mean? And we heard the toilet, the lid for the toilet go up and down, bang, 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 bang. So the toilet lid would go up and down and the door would go. And we'd always, it sounded like, have you ever put hangers on the back of a door? And then like when you close the door, you hear the hangers jingling. That's what it sounded like, hangers jingling and the door slamming. And that was always in the footsteps and all this other stuff. And then one time my two dogs were barking really loud and their hair was standing up on their back and they were barking at the corner of the living room, both of them. And me and my kids were freaking out because they were seeing something that we didn't see, right? Anyway, then I didn't know what in the hell's going on. And then down in the basement, there was a bad presence down there, like the demon or something. I never went down to the basement. I didn't like that. And then one day I found out what happened in that house before I lived there. And so I went and bought this Mercury Cougar one time. And it was a really cool car. It was an older one. And it had a 5-speed. It was a really cool car. And back then, it was before internet. So I looked in the newspaper and I found this car. And I found out the people selling the car was only like 3 blocks away, which is cool. So I go over to look at the car. And I took the car for a ride. And I said, yeah, I'll take the car. And I said, but I live like 3 blocks from here. Can you drive this car home while I drive my car home? They said, yeah, we'll follow you home. And so they followed me home. And then when I pulled up, they said, are you kidding? This is where you live? And I said, yeah. He goes, I grew up with the kid that lived in this house. And I said, really? And I told him their name. He said, yeah, that's their name. I said, is there any reason that this house would be haunted? And the guy said, well, what's happening? I said, he said, well, yeah, some people died in that house. And I said, well, where? He said, well, the mom died upstairs in the bathroom, and the dad, and that's where we keep hearing the door and the toilet. And anyway, I said, you're kidding, in the upstairs bathroom? He said, yeah, that's where she died. And I said, wow, that's where we're hearing a bunch of stuff. Then I said, I think the dad died in the living room when he came down the steps. I said, we're hearing his feet on the steps. He said, yeah, the dad died in that house too. And he said, you know who else died in that house? I said, who? He said, somebody that was renting that house. He said, there was a woman broke up with her husband, and she was renting the house. And now, mind you, I had just broken up with my husband. And but he said that, yeah, that a woman got murdered down in the basement. And I'm like, you're kidding. And he says, no. I said, that's where we get the creepy stuff, down in the basement. And he said, yeah. He said that woman broke up with her husband, and he was really a bad person. And one day she was down in the basement doing laundry, and he climbed it. He said, you see your tree? We had a tree that you could climb the tree and get on the branch and hop on the roof, and then you could get in the upstairs bathroom, right? He said, well, the boyfriend came back, and he climbed that tree, and he jumped up on the roof, and that's how my kids used to get in. Like if they were locked out of the house, they would go up the tree and jump on the roof and get in the bathroom. I said, yeah, my kids come and go out of that window all the time. And he goes, yeah, well, the boyfriend went in that bathroom window and ran downstairs and killed her down in the basement. I'm like, you got to be kidding. That's 3 people that died in that house? Yes, those are all the 3 places that were haunted. Anyway, back then we didn't, like I said, there's no internet. There's nothing. I looked in the phone book in the yellow pages for like a Ghostbuster or something, but I couldn't find anything. I was going to pay somebody to come and get these demons out of my house. But anyway, I ended up selling the house, and yeah. So anyway, now I would, if it had, see, it won't happen now. But me and my kids have always been able to see spirits really good, and yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. Afraid of ticks. I had one living on my head when I was a kid. Never go outside without a hat. Yeah, it might be why you have RA. I actually got Lyme's disease from a deer tick. And you know what? The health department used to call me like every 6 months to see how I'm doing. I'm like, this is weird. Yeah, because when you're on Lyme's disease, the public health tracks you to see if you recover or not. And they did with me anyway. Yeah, RA does suck. It's horrible. My neighbor and his brother were using a Ouija board and flipped the table over and cabinets flung. Yeah, stay away from those Ouija boards. I would not go near one. Yep, chair thrown across. Yep. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. You going to a rheumatologist Tuesday? Oh, sorry to hear that, Sarah. I hope things get better for you. Your brother has an old Cougar. It's yellow, and the color was yours. What color was yours? Oh, mine was black, and it had a 5-speed. It was really cool. It had a turbo in it. Yeah. Yeah, mine is an older one, too. It was an old Cougar, and it had a 5-speed on the floor. Yeah, it was turbo. It was black interior. I've had a lot of sports cars. I love that Cougar. You're laying here with ice packs on both feet. Oh, sorry to hear that, Sarah. Yeah. Well, the ice is supposed to be for new injury because the ice shrinks the swelling. And usually when you get injured, something swells. The pain comes from the swelling. That's why it hurts, swelling. And so if you can shrink swelling with ice, it helps. But if on an old injury, usually they have heat for old injuries. There's a channel, Demon Erasers, good stuff. Really, the health department doesn't do that anymore. All my kids got Lyme's. I got in the, oh yeah. Yeah, they used to call me to see how I'm doing, and that I thought that's weird because I've heard things that you know it was a government that was basically a manufactured disease. I'll never consent. Yeah, stay away from that Ouija stuff. Ouija board. Don't need it. Yeah. Why does I have to do 15 minutes of ice and 15 minutes of heat? Yeah. Yeah. That's rough. That Lyme's disease, I'm telling you. So supposedly, what I've heard and studied is that the military actually came up with the Lyme's disease. They actually used it as a weapon against the enemy. And because when an enemy, if you give the enemy a bunch of people with Lyme's disease, they're down for the count. When you have Lyme's disease and it's bad, all you can do is sit. You can't get up. You can't do anything. You wish you could, but you can't. It's devastating. So if you give the enemy Lyme's disease or many other disease, especially Lyme's disease, they're done. They can't fight. You know what? It's like, jacked up Bible stories. Okay, I can tell jacked up Bible stories for days. Okay, and one of the jacked up Bible stories is how, so this guy, anyway, the men made a deal with the enemies that, hey, we got some hot looking women that you guys can have, and you got hot women that we can have, right? And so let's give each other the women for wives, right? We can trade women, but we've got a stipulation. And they're like, yeah, we'll do that. And they said, yeah, but here's what you got to do. We only want men that are circumcised, right? And they're like, so everybody has to get circumcised before you can have our women. And they're like, okay, so they all get circumcised. And like on the third day after they got circumcised, they're all suffering. I'm sure they got infections and everything, using a flint stone to circumcise it. Anyway, thousands of people or hundreds of men got circumcised, and as they're all suffering on the ground, then they came in and they wiped out and slaughtered all them men. So the circumcising thing was just a trick. And there's a lot of weird circumcising stories. Using foreskins as dowries and everything else. But they did that to the enemies back then. They would fight dirty, you know what I mean? Like that, like having them all get circumcised, and then when they're all suffering, they would attack them. Or how about like when Samson wanted to, was it the Philistines? I can't remember who they were fighting, but so they captured like 300 foxes, okay? And they wanted to get the upper hand against their enemies. So they captured like 300 foxes, and they tied their tails together so they couldn't like run down in a foxhole, right? So they took 300 foxes and tied all their tails together, and then they put torches on their tails and they lit them on fire, and then they dropped these foxes with flaming tails tied together in their fields and in their olive groves and in their wheat fields and all this. And the foxes ran and burned everything to the ground. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a weird story. But that was thousands and thousands, 4,000 years ago. That was 4,000 years ago. They've been playing dirty with war forever. And so, yeah, they will, do something horribly unfair for an advantage, and they're still doing that. So yeah, when they give the enemy Lyme's disease, nobody can even stand up. I mean, you got an army of men that can't even stand on their feet, you know what I mean? Easily wipe them out. And that they've been doing that for many thousands of years. A flat earth guy? I didn't go to the doctor. I'm one of 12 kids. We only went to the doctor and thought it was left. Yeah, those are the ones that live the longest if you don't go to the doctor. Yeah, big families anymore. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Samson. Yeah, you got that. That was Samson. In fact, the Samson and Delilah story is it's so bizarre, and it's a very long story. Just right from the beginning, before the beginning, when he was still in his mother's womb, it just started going south. So, anyway, Samson and Delilah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. They cut. She had his hair cut. She actually didn't cut his hair. She, had him all in bed and everything. And some guy came in, and two men, I think, came in and cut his hair. Stop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I just try not to. I try to stay away from the doctor, and I worked in the doctor. Worked in the medical field for 20 years, and that's the last place I would go. But anyway, so yeah, just a lot of just like I said, a lot of horrible stories in there. Anyway, what else? So, anything else? I don't know if I could probably talk more, but I don't know what else to really get into. I would just, if you want to get a hold of your loved one that's crossed over on the other side, think of yourself, what would it take to convince you that was them? And then ask for it. You know what I mean? Just ask your loved one, hey, I'd like to hear from you, to know that you're around. And could you give me a sign that I no doubt will know that it's you? You know what I'm saying? And they'll do something, whether it's their cologne or perfume or something that reminds you of them. Just ask for a sign, and then be patient. It might not come in a few seconds. It might not come in a few hours. It might be a day or two. You see, the people on the other side, they can see into the future a little bit because there's so many moving parts, and everybody's got free will. They can tell what's probably going to happen tomorrow with us, maybe the next day, but the further out in the future, the less they can really see. But they know where you're going to be tomorrow. They know where you're going to be in 2 days and 3 days. So yeah, they will give you a sign, and yeah, you can just start communicating with them. And some people, it would probably only take one time for them to say, yeah, I'm okay. I'm on the other side and I'm okay. Then you don't have to worry anymore. All right. Wise Creator, good to see you again. Don't stay away for many years this time. Anyway, good to see you after all this time. It's been years since we saw you, but thanks for stopping in again. You have two. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody. I'm not sure. I could. I might have to let my dogs in. It's dark now, and they're just still barking. Yeah. Start trying. Just say, hey, I want to make sure that you're okay. And I want to just know that you're okay and you're on the other side and all that stuff. So they probably will. And once you put a request out there, then just go about your way. Okay. Don't worry about it. You don't have to dwell on it. Just say, hey, talk specifically to the one and say it out loud. Hey, I'm thinking about you. And I hope you give me a sign that tells me that you're here, you're okay, everything's fine, and you'll probably get something. I mean, but you have to ask. Like I said, they're not going to do nothing unless you ask. Otherwise, they are interfering with your free will. Okay, so most people, you know what they say in the Bible? You have not because you ask not. You don't get it because you're not asking for it. But if you ask for it, I mean, they'll say, hey, nobody crossed over ever got a hold of me. Well, A, they probably did and you didn't realize it. And B, did you ask? Have you asked for a sign? Well, yeah. Well, if you ask for a sign, make sure you're open. Is it going to be flickering the lights? Is it going to be a song on the radio? They can make a song on the radio. They can put a song on the radio for you. They can do things that we don't even realize. So don't worry, and don't ever worry about how this is going to happen. Well, how are they going to do that? How is that? Don't worry about it. No more than you worry about when you put your trash out at the curb, okay? You have faith in your trash man, right? When you put your trash out at the curb, you don't have to worry, oh no, what if the trash man gets sick today? Or what if his truck breaks down? And where are they going to put the trash once they pick it up? Is he going to have somewhere to put it? No. You put it out there and you have faith that that trash man's going to take it away, right? So have that much faith in the universe. Have at least that much. That, hey, I'm going to put it out there and then I'm going to have faith that you're going to handle this, right? It's just like if you need money. All right, if you need money, you can bring money into your life too. But you have to stop worrying about how that's going to happen. There's all kinds of things that you can get, but you have to stop wondering, how is he going to do that? How is he going to pull that off? Where is this money going to come from? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay, thanks for coming in tonight, Sarah. I will probably get off here too. 16, what's that, 2 hours? 116, almost 120. I'll probably get off here too. But yeah, thanks for coming in, Sarah, and everybody. But yeah, just ask for your, and then next time I come on live, I could come on Wednesday or Thursday or something. Well, okay, so Wednesday, you guys, I'm going to go to the flea market. I'm going to do a video at the flea market. They just opened up for the spring. So I'm going to be at the flea market on Wednesday. And anyway, I will be videotaping that. Yeah, be patient, be open, have faith. That's right. That's right. Don't worry about how they're going to do, okay? That's not your problem. But you can be specific. Say, hey, I don't care if it's a pink elephant. You just say, hey, I want to see this. I want to see a pink elephant. I want to see a camel. I want to see a kangaroo. I want to see a basketball. I want to see a apple. I want to see a butterfly. Name it. Name what you want if you want it to be specific. But anyway, all right, well, I'll sign off for here and say good night to you guys. I hope it's been helpful. I'm just watching my dogs. I got to go out and get them. Name it and claim it, kind of. Set it and forget it. Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. Isn't that like a crock pot? That's a crock pot meal. You set it and forget it. All right, so I want to say thanks for coming in, everybody. Good night to TNT and Grace and Sarah and Wise Creator. Not my monkeys. Let's see, Sarah. Everybody that came in. Nice seeing Justin. I hope you're doing well, Justin. I hope your family's doing well. Hope everything's going good for Justin. I just thought about him too. Dear Jane, Wiser Creator, Sarah, T-Bro. Good to see T-Bro. Anybody else? I know I'm not getting to all of them because it doesn't go back all the way. So anyway. Yeah, Yeah. So yeah, I'll be at the flea market on Wednesday and see what they got. See if they got anything that I can't live without. Love you too, Grace. Thank you, Grace, for moderating. I appreciate your help moderating. Not that we have a lot. We don't have any trolls or anything like that. Anything crazy going on in this chat. But I hope it has been helpful for somebody, and I hope it makes your life better, because that's what this channel is about. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks everybody for coming in. I want to say good night, peace out, and all that other stuff. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.